Hi everyone, I'm Daisy Rocha and this is what's happening in Brazil. We start by updating you on the latest news from the country. Federal police has confirmed over 30 inquiries across the country to investigate wildfires, mainly affecting São Paulo, Pantanal, and Amazon biomes. Last week, São Paulo broke a national record with more than 2,000 fires. Over the weekend, residents of the region dealt with fire cancellations, evacuations from home, and respiratory problems. The São Paulo government confirmed that 6 people had been arrested. Paris Paralympics started on Wednesday. 279 Brazilian sportspeople, including athletes and guide athletes, are competing in the event. This is the largest Brazilian delegation ever to take part in an edition of the Games, and the largest female participation in history. The last edition in Tokyo, Brazil won 72 medals. Online betting sector is worrying Brazil's production chain. The Brazilian bank Itaú reports that the population lost over $4 billion in online gambling in 1 year. Despite progress with the more than 100 authorization requests to the government, regulatory delays have already led to unchecked growth, impacting consumption, family debt, and mental health. Extremity poverty in Brazil fell by 40% between 2022 and 2023, but income inequality increased. The super rich now earn over 30 times more than the poorest half. The data was released this week by the Brazilian Observatory of Inequalities. Employment rate also dropped by around 20% during this period. On August 21, 2009, landless worker Elton Brum was murdered during a police operation on an occupied large estate in a rural area of Rio Grande do Sul. Watch now in our story of the week about the settlement named after him and how he inspires young people in the landless rural workers movement.
By fighting and getting organized, Sebastião and Adriana's family achieved their dream of having a plot of land to work on food production. They are one of the 10 families settled under agrarian reform in 2013 in the town of Encruzilhada do Sul in the state of Rio Grande do Sul. They received the ownership of the Elton Brum settlement from then-Governor Tasso Genro. The name pays homage to the comrade who had once been side by side in their struggle, but whose dream was cut short. 15 years ago, Elton Brum was murdered by a military police with a 12-gauge shot in the back in one of the most violent repossession actions of an unproductive large estate.
They removed the trench, cleared it, came in with the cavalry, and unfortunately started hitting everyone. So they used swords to hit everyone, shot with rubber bullets, tear gas bombs, pepper spray. It was torture, something nobody wants to remember.
We were playing with the kids because the women were looking after them. Then, when we saw what was happening, it broke out in front of us, and they came all over us, women and children, dropping those gas bombs.
Violence in the countryside is a Brazilian reality that is far from over. The most recent reports from the Pastoral Land Commission show that violence cases have increased in recent years. It took years of intense legal battles before a popular jury convicted police officer Alexandre Curto dos Santos.
No entanto, logo depois, o Tribunal de Justiça concedeu o direito dele.
However, soon after that, the Court of Justice granted him the right to appeal for freedom. It was very sad to see that after receiving the benefit, the local town hall treated him as if he were a hero. We then had to appeal this decision, and 2 months later, he was back in prison.
Elton Brum's dream lives on in the families organized in the Landless Rural Workers Movement, also known as MST.
He wanted to fight. He had a dream for the land. It's for us to continue to fight for it. Our dream is to give our kids a better future and produce food.
The kind of food particular to each place can sharpen the sense much more than the palate. For example, knowledge and flavors appear as one of the same in the verses of cultural diversity of the sertaneja music. In this week's Culture Talk, you will watch the story of Fernando da Budega, one of the founders of the Budega da Poesia space, which brings together poetry and traditional food from the area in the northeast Brazil known as Sertão.
Lá não existe frescura dessas comidas importadas.
There is no such thing as imported food there. There you can eat a buchada, angu, or pure fava bean. Preá is the meat you add to bean. There you prepare a pirão and give it to the kids, who grew up fat and wavy, strong as thunder.
Among traditions, celebrations, flavors, and symbolisms, the experiences of taste combined with poetry deepen feelings. For example, the bitterness of Giló, as Luiz Gonzaga sung, represents the longing for a lost love.
Ai, quem me dera voltar pros braços do meu xodó. Saudade assim faz doer e amarga que nem Giló.
One cultural space that restates this combination is Budega da Poesia. The space has existed for 18 years in the São Cristóvão neighborhood of Arco Verde in the state of Pernambuco. It maintains a tradition of metrics and rhymes as well as smells and spices. In these almost 2 decades of existence, there have even been those who have suggested leaving the sertaneja cuisine aside. Despite that, those from abroad want to enjoy the place's culture, including its traditional food, considering the fact it has also to do with memories and affection.
A gente teve essa ideia de colocar só.
We had to create a menu inspired by Sertão, our race and roots, the origin we could offer our friends and customers. So that's when we put together only products from Sertão, such as arrumadinho, macaxeira with jerky, goat, baião de dois, and tripa, one of Bodega's flagships. So we came up with this menu so that we wouldn't get away from the contest of Sertão.
In addition to sertaneja cuisine, Bodega combines poetry with other cultural expressions such as coco, pife, and forró.
I think the way this place brings these two things together is not ordinary. It doesn't unite any kind of poetry with any kind of gastronomy. I think the combination of my emotional experience because of my family's history and the union of various cultural manifestations that I find very beautiful is a pleasant surprise to be here and experience these things.
In addition to Fernando, 2 other poets got together 18 years ago to drink mocotó broth with cachaça, respectively a dish made with calf's foot and a Brazilian alcoholic beverage made from sugar cane.
A bodega, ela é sertão.
And one said a poem, another said another poem, and so this story began. Then we arranged to meet the following Sunday to share poems, so we met, and there were already more people, 1 or 2 more.
That's how the poetry tent at the São Cristóvão Public Market came out. The current headquarters were built with the collaboration of the people who made this cultural scene emerge. The current activities are much broader than the old Sunday gatherings. The place is open from Tuesday to Sunday. On the last Thursday of the month, there is the so-called Night of the Lamp, or Noite do Candeeiro in Portuguese. This activity exemplifies the fact that there is no bad time to bring food and poetry together.
O começo do candeeiro foi até engraçado, né? Porque foi.
The beginning of Candeeiro was kind of funny because once we were here, the power went out. So we came up with the idea of having an evening for poets under the light of lamps. It was funny because it was improvised. It wasn't planned.
Kerliane also believes that combining food and poetry helps to preserve cuisine as a heritage.
Eu acredito que a importância da gente manter.
I believe it's important that we keep the food that has already been passed on to us, to young people. We must keep it so they can learn about it in the future.
In the relationship between food and poetry, the Budega space keeps alive a sertanejo music aura between time and space, as Fernando recites.
Venha ver uma noite de São João, a bodega fazendo essa mistura de um povo humilde, sem frescura, abraçando você com alegria. Quem visita a Budega da Poesia dá um abraço apertado na cultura.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.